Okay, let's begin. Good afternoon to everyone. Again, let's continue our exercise. Planning and Control Management, Part 4, Program Progress Monitoring, Update, and Controlling. Kindly subscribe, like, and share. So our previous episode was Part 4, Session 13. And that was about Progress Update 001 for Earned Value Performance Report in Primavera P6. And our current episode is Part 4, Session 14. It is about the Progress Update 001 on Earned Value Estimate at Completion Cost in Primavera P6. Okay. Our objective is to demonstrate the approach in the calculation and preparation of Earned Value Estimate at Completion Cost in Primavera P6. Okay, since we have completed our Earned Value Performance Report, now we have to establish a projection of how much this project will cost at completion based on the progress trend or current performance. So estimate at completion is the term used by the EVMS or the Earned Value Management System. So after we finish our performance report, meaning that we are reporting that we were reporting for the for our performance on how our effort was done during the current period. So now our task now is to forecast or is to project the effect of our performance. So, but before we can derive the estimate at completion, we have to determine first the estimate to complete, in which the Earned Value Management System offers several techniques to adapt accordingly. So in Primavera, we have also the basis there. We have I think 5 choices. Okay, so let me show you for the third time. Okay, how the ETC or the estimate to complete is being calculated. Okay, here we go. Okay, here. The earned value techniques to calculate estimate to complete or ETC. Okay, so first is the ETC is equals to the remaining total cost. So considering this considers the current projected remaining cost to complete as the estimated cost to complete. Okay, so considering this first technique, in this technique, the estimate of the remaining total cost is performed by the assessment of past period performance or actual progress trend, including unforeseen items which are part of the scope of work with the estimated remaining duration. So meaning in this technique, we have to actually do the estimate for the remaining works to be done. So that will include all the scope or the unforeseen items which we needed to, which we need in the future. So in this technique, this is the most preferable and reliable technique to apply because everything is considered in the estimate and there is a basis or a proof that the estimate is done accurately, completely, and so forth. So that means we may not be bother for the other techniques if the estimate of the remaining total cost is performed accurately and is highly reliable, right? So that is the purpose of this ETC or RTC. So how actually when during our update, this remaining total cost, actually we can actually do the estimate in here. Let me show you in Primavera P6. Okay, here. Like for example, here in our mobilization site, okay? So here under the bottom window, so here in the resource tab, so in here, if we have some unforeseen items here, if we want really to do the actual estimate of the remaining cost of this activity, so if we can see that there are some other unforeseen items that we really needed for the next periods, we can add it in here by adding the resources, or if it is not in the resource dictionary, you can add on the resource dictionary as long as that resources is still part of the scope of work. But if not, so there's no need for us to add for that activity because it is not our responsibility to do the work. But if it is within our liability to execute the work, even though or maybe we mislook or we have not seen it earlier, so that is our responsibility. So we need to add it here. And to do that, when you estimate the remaining duration, actually, when you actually update the activity, actually the remaining duration here is automatically calculated if you want Primavera to do it. Or if you have an estimate, you can do it here. You can add the remaining duration of the activity and then add the, you add the number of units of, or if you think that you need to add the number of units of the resources, you can do it here, right? So that means the estimate at completion or the remaining cost in here, of course, if the remaining units will be added or will be reduced, whatever your plan is, you have to reduce it or to increase your resources or units or the units of your resources. So that means you are working on the cost of the remaining work package or activities. So if you have done it here, so the remaining cost will be calculated in here and it will carried into the activity. So if you want the earned value to use that remaining, if you think that your estimate here for the remaining cost is really accurate and dependable, or you can really rely on the accuracy on it, so you can choose it as the techniques on calculating the estimate to complete by using the RTC or the remaining total cost to be equal into the estimate to complete. Okay, so that is the remaining total cost. Okay, so let's get back into our, okay, so that is remaining total cost. So next. Okay. Now, if the first technique or an accurate or a reliable estimate of the remaining total cost is not available, so we may resort to the other techniques, right? So if the technique number one is not available or the accuracy is insignificantly not reliable, one of the following techniques can be used as deemed fits to the requirement. Okay. Okay, let's move. So here is the second technique, but this second technique includes four under it is the four techniques that you have to I mean the only the difference in here is the performance factor that you need to apply for this formula. Okay, so let's go to the first one. So the ETC is equals to BAC less the ABC. If the performance factor is 1, so of course, if you multiply this 1 into the difference of BAC and the EBC, so of course, it will come out to BAC less the EBC. So this one, it assumes that the future or the remaining cost to complete will proceed as planned. Meaning, the budget at completion is equals to estimate at completion. Okay, this is the assumption. So there is no less, no more, as long as the budget at completion or the budget or original budget will be achieved on the projection. Okay. So in this technique, it could be that the project in charge has a gut feeling that everything is under control, right? So the feasibility of a budget at completion to be remain achievable for the remaining work package is projected. Okay. So in other words, the budget at completion for the work package is assumed achievable as planned. So, but the question here is, how could this be supported convincingly compared to the first technique that we mentioned? The first one, the ATC is equals to the RTC. Okay, maybe it is because the current performance report looks pretty good. Am I right? Or but for the remaining works to do are all unforeseen scopes, changes to the resource rates, and other necessary items to be included in the future estimate are considered. Then if it is not considered, and in the case that the unforeseen work scope or cost is encountered in the middle of the period, so our estimated completion is far to reality. Okay, so that is the question there. Okay, next we will move to the other one. So the ETC is equals to BAC less the CPI if the performance factor is 1 divided by the cost performance index, right? So if this is the formula and you replace 1 over CPI here, it will come out that AC less ABC will be divided into the cost performance index. So in this technique, it assumes that the future or remaining cost to complete is being controlled or influenced by the current cost performance. Okay, so in this technique, the current trend of the work expenditure is being considered to influence the remaining work performance. So if we are more concerned to the cost outcome of the next or future period, then we have the motivation to choose this technique. Okay, so let's move forward. ATC is equals to BAC less the EBC divided by CPI multiplied by the scheduled performance index. That is, if the performance or the performance factor is equals to 1 divided by the product of the cost performance index and the schedule performance index. So this will be the formula. So in this formula, it assumes in this technique, it assumes future or remaining cost to complete is being controlled or influenced by the current cost and schedule performance. Okay, so in this technique, the current trend of the cost or the expenditure and the schedule performance are being considered to influence the remaining work performance. So if we are more concerned for both to the cost and schedule outcome of the next or future period, then we have the motivation to choose this technique. Okay. So next, ETC is equals to 0.88 multiplied by BAC less the earned value cost if performance factor is equals to 0.88. Okay, in this technique, actually, the performance factor here is maybe it could be a wishful decision. So the performance factor is this one is to the satisfaction of individual on how it derives other than the other techniques are presented above. So I'm pretty sure that maybe this could be derived from the very experienced guy who knows from maybe several previous projects that 0.88 or something is really a workable one. So it's up to him. Okay. Okay, so since the estimate of the remaining total cost is performed accurately, this one, so we'll be assuming that this is performed accurately and highly reliable. So let's use this one, the ETC. Let's let's assign this first technique. The ATC is equals to RTC across the whole project. So we will be using this one, the first technique. Okay, so let's go to Primavera P6. And then we will go to WBS. Okay. And then we will go to the highest level since we have to apply it across the whole project. So we can use this highlight this higher level and choose this technique number 1. Now, if you want to choose the other, let's say if you want to choose the construction, if it is your choice that this one you will be using the this method, this technique, just click it and it will have its own unique technique compared to the overall. Okay, but remember that the calculation of the estimate at completion or whatever technique is there, it should be the summary from the lowest level down to the upper level. So that means if you apply the other technique here on this level, so this level will be down, this level going down, will be using that technique of choice, calculate it, and then once if you have here another here, you have a different technique being applied. So the level below the assignment will apply that technique, and bottom line at the upper, even though you will be putting any technique that you will be assigning any technique here, still it will calculate from the bottom going up. Okay. So that means it is the bottom-up calculation of the ESC, regardless of the assignment of the technique for any level of the level of WBS in the project. Okay, but for now, we will be using for the whole project this technique, the ETC, remaining cost for the activity. Since our project is really more for the first time, it shows that the performance is pretty good. So there is no problem with that. Okay, so we may we may change or maintain the application of techniques in the future period depending on our choice or as necessary. So meaning in the next period, we can change the application if our mind changes or whatever. Okay? Okay, let's proceed to the demonstration of the calculation of the ETC and the EAC, or the estimate at completion. Okay, let's move. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's display the WBS grouping of our project, displaying the earned value and cost metrics for our reference in calculating estimate at completion for its activity. So let's show our Primavera first. Let's go to the activity. Let's go to, let me check first. I'm not sure if, okay, where we are now. Okay, in Primavera. Okay, let's close this one. Let's go to activity, and then let's go to we will open our okay, let's open our earn value and cost parameters. Okay, was it this or not? Okay, where we now? Sometimes I'm lost a direction. Okay, where we are now. Okay, here we go. I think this is the one. So now in here, we will display the WBS grouping here. So since these are the metrics for the earned value and cost in here. So we will be displaying the 4 items here. Okay, since these are the activities that are in progress, the mobilization and establish temporary facilities, and also here the project management and transportation. So let's display this summary for these 4 in progress highlighted WBS in our metrics. Okay, so let's move. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, have you seen this one? These are the highlighted one. These are the I mean the WBS, which are in progress activities. So we will be elaborating or discussing on how the ETC or the estimate to complete are being calculated. Okay, but try to remember that the our assignment, or we choose the technique one, which is the ETC is equals to RTC for the current program. But we have to, we will try to calculate each to see the change, the difference, so that we have the comparison. Okay. So the highlighted here is the mobilization, temporary facilities, project management, transportation. These are the activities or items or package of work that are in progress. Okay, now let's collect the earned value data for each in the WBS element. Okay, the technique in calculating estimate to complete, ETC, and estimate at completion, AAC. So we have summarized, we the, we rolled up into summary our earned value and cost metrics here. So we have here the column for the budget at completion, planned, etc., up to the variance at completion. Okay, next, what shall we do next? Okay, let's move forward. Okay. Okay, here we will start from the A100M, which is the mobilization. Okay, and then here is the data of the mobilization of the of this activity or work package, that the budget at completion is equals to 610,236. And then next is the planned value cost is this one. Next is the earned value cost is here. And next is the actual cost is this one. So take note that we are working on the mobilization, and the remaining total cost of the mobilization is this one. And the CPI here is calculated here as 508 divided by the planned, the actual cost will give you 228. So that's right. And then our SPI, the same, is calculated as 1.5 here. So they are the same. And then take note that this data here comes from our Primavera. Okay, so we will be checking if our Primavera is really correct, or when it comes to our manual calculation. So now we will be moving to a work package, established temporary facilities. Now here is the budgeted, the BAC, and then the PBC, and then the ABC, and then the actual cost, the remaining total cost here, the CPI, okay, so they are correct. So the SPI, it is also correct. So we will moving to the project management here. Okay, and then we have the BAC. Just look at the blinking circle here, or blinking solid circle, because that is the value. And then we have here the planned value cost, and then the ABC. Okay, and then we have here the actual cost. We have the remaining total cost, the cost period performance index, I mean. So it is 1.54. You can confirm this one by calculating it by yourself, if it is really correct, 1.54. Actually, the data is all the data are all is here. So we can really confirm the calculation of Primavera, it's correct or not, or our calculation maybe is correct or not, okay? Okay, so our transportation here is here. We have the, okay, BAC, the PBC, the ABC, the actual cost, the remaining total cost. We have the CPI here, 152, correct. And the scheduled performance index is 1, that is correct also. So now we are here on the estimate of the, or I mean the estimate at completion, which is common for all the techniques. So estimate at completion here is equals to the actual cost plus the ATC. Okay. That is, they are the same for all the techniques we have to apply here, or I mean for all the our package. Okay, next. So we have here the WBS ID. So we can find it, we can find it here. So, okay, now what we will be doing now is we have to calculate the estimate to complete and the estimate at completion. Okay. By calculating it using all the techniques offered by Primavera. Okay. So the first technique here is ETC is equals to RTC. ATC is equals to BAC minus ABC. And the third technique and the fourth technique. So have you noticed that anyway, okay, so first, so we have already all the techniques, the formula for all the four techniques here. So now let's work with the first WBS ID, which is the mobilization. So here is the data of the mobilization here. Take note that we applied only the what do you call this? We applied only the first technique, this one, into our current program to make it simple. Okay, so here we go. So let's go here. So the ETC here is equals to RTC, which is equals to 131,200. So this one. And then next, we will go to the next technique. The ATC here is equal to the earned value or the budget at completion less the earned value cost, which is 610, this one, and 508, 530, this one, respectively. Okay. So this is the ETC based on this formula. So we cannot compare it here because we have not assigned it in our current program. We assigned only the ETC. So anyway, that is more, we're confident that this is really correct. Okay, so so this is the result of the ETC of using this technique, the second technique. And then we have here on the third technique. So this value are constant. The BAC less the earned value cost, this one. Okay, so this is the estimate to complete of the third technique, and we have here the estimate to complete of the fourth technique. So which is the bigger estimate to complete? The biggest one. So if you look at the value here, For the four techniques, the biggest is 4401, and this one is 131. So what does that mean? Okay, the lesser the estimate to complete is the bigger you save. Am I right? Because if this ETC is the remaining work that you need to spend more based on the technique, right? So meaning in the ETC under this technique, you will be spending more 131, 200. Okay. But anyway, this is only the ETC. So we will be comparing it on our at completion cost so that we can compare it into our budgeted budget at completion cost. Okay. So we'll just go forward. So we will go to WBS Bay 10 or WBS established temporary facilities. So here is the data. Now on the first technique, we have here the RTC is 453882, right? So if we look at it here, this one, the estimate to complete. Next, second technique is they are the same. I don't know why. Now on the third technique, we have here the value 271, and the fourth technique is 248,83706. Okay. Okay, let's move forward. We are only calculating all the estimate to complete at once, and then the next will be the estimate at completion. Okay, so that it will be in order. Okay, here is the value of the project management here. So the RTC, when you look at it here, this is 2131. Okay, so that is why the remaining total cost is equals to the ETC because we assign the technique number 1 into across our project. Okay, so that is why they are equals. But if you assign a different technique, it will not be equal. Okay. Okay, next. ETC. Here is the budget at completion less the earned value. So this is the one here. So the budget at completion less the earned value is the same for all the techniques here, for all the other 3 techniques here. Next. Okay. So we have here our fourth technique. Now we have here next is our transportation. Okay. So the value here is 249,300. So they are correct. And then here, so 227 less 189. So we have 2087325. And then this one, the third technique, and also on the fourth technique. You can verify this one. We can confirm the calculation if it is really correct or not, as long as the data here are available. Next is that we will calculate the estimate at completion. That means we have to apply the actual cost and the calculated estimate to complete, right? That is why we calculate first the estimate to complete, because the formula for the estimated completion is the actual cost plus the estimate to complete. So actual cost we have already available here. Okay, so we have already available here, here, and here. Okay, let's move. Okay, this is the estimated completion for our WPS A1000-M. Okay, and this is for the second technique. This is for the third technique, and this is for the fourth technique. So if you look at now, look at the value of the estimate at completion. Take note that estimate at completion is your estimate that or is our projection on how much we have to spend to complete the project. Meaning when we fully completed the project, this is our projection of what it will really cost in total. So if you look at the total cost of our projection here for the first technique is 354, and on the second technique is 324, and the third technique is 227, and the fourth technique is 252. Okay, so that means if this technique really works, so this is your estimate at completion, which is much lesser compared to the budget at completion, right? If you look at the budget at completion here is 200,277, and less the estimate at completion, which is it's really have a big difference. Okay, so that means this technique has a bigger value compared to the other three. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, moving forward for the second technique, and then for the third technique, and then for the second technique. Okay, next we will go to project management. It's 2 million. Okay, here is, and then here, and then we'll go to transportation. We have here 2174. Okay. Okay, for the next, and the last one is this. Now we will try to compare the, the estimate at completion. Let's say we will look at the first WBS here. The estimated completion here is 354, and here is 324, and here is 267, and here is 252. So the last one is this one. And the biggest one is this one, right? So if you compare it into your budget, okay, this is our budget for this activity. Now, if you look at our first technique, we have already a big difference in here, right? So if 610 less the estimated one, so we have a big profit in here if this really works up to the last minute of the activity. Much more for the other activities, for the other techniques here, right? So that is the analysis there. Okay, so to be more conservative, since our project is not really what you call is not really delayed or spending much, we can choose this one because this is more realistic compared to the other three items. But if you have no choice, then you can use these three techniques, whichever you want. So okay. Now the question are, So I think we are done already here, and I hope you understand everything. But the question here is that if you shift the estimate to complete technique for not started work package could affect the estimate at completion. Let's say what I mean is if you look at our Primavera here, and we will go to WBS. Let's say, for example, in this activity here, those activities which are, let's go to activities. Okay. These activities, let's say these activities have not started yet. Okay. If you assign here the, let's say, for example, if you assign here the, I'll go to WPS. These activities have not started yet, right? Okay, so let's open it. And then if we will assign here a different technique, let's say, let's say we will use the technique 1. And then change with the technique 2. And then change with the technique 3. And then change with the technique 4. Would you think that the estimate at completion will change or not, considering that the activity had not yet started? What do you think? The answer for that is no. It will not change the estimate at completion unless the fifth technique performance factor is not equal to 1. So here, if this if you will use for this unupdated activity, or the activity has not started yet, if you use the four techniques here, it will not change the estimate at completion. But if you will use this one, which is not equal to 1, it will change the estimate at completion. Okay, understood? Again, I will repeat it again. If this activity, like for example, the activity, I am talking about the activity which have not started yet. Like for example, if you try to assign or apply the technique number 1 here, and then next you will apply the technique number 2 here, the value of the estimated completion will not change, even to the technique number 3 and 4, as long as the activity has not started yet. Okay? But if you apply the fifth technique, in which the performance factor is not equal to 1, it will change. It will change. It will affect the estimated completion. Okay? So, so unless the fifth technique performance factor is set not equal to 1, so the estimated completion of the activity or work package are the same, whichever technique is assigned or applied. Okay. So my question now, another question is, which of the techniques to calculate the estimated outcome of the project we have to present, or we have to prefer? Okay, I will give you some hints. The techniques used to calculate the estimate to complete is provided to be used only in projecting the remaining cost of the project to arrive into the estimate at completion, which can be based on, first, the actual assessment or estimate of the remaining cost to be. Second, the budget at completion and the earned value variance and influenced by the current performance of the project, schedule, and or cost performance, which means that the projection is being influenced by the current performance of the project. So, which could only show or provide us an approximate idea on how much or how the current performance will be look like in the next period or future. Okay? Secondly, choosing the best technique does not really mean an absolute success to the project in all aspects. It could only provide us an alternative ideas what could be the future of the project when the technique appears dominant in reality in the next or future period. But the bottom line is on how to take immediate action to address the current performance information or indication or indicator to be able to continuously run the project ahead of schedule, on schedule, under budget, on budget, cost under run at completion, or otherwise prevent or mitigate delays and expenditures. So if the current performance is more likely to continue happening in an appreciable trend, meaning it is currently ahead of schedule and cost underrun, then the project or work package is more likely be completed ahead of schedule and with cost underrun by maintaining the current effort as it is. Okay? While if the current performance is more likely to continue happening in an unfavorable trend, meaning it is currently behind schedule and cost overrun, then the project or work package performance would be worsened until it will emerge as a significant delay and more spending to incur, unless additional effort or application of alternative prevention or mitigation measures must be introduced immediately upon assessment of the current performance. Okay? So I hope we have enough or knowledge absorbed on this session. So, okay, so so far we are done. And I think this is enough for today or for this session. Actually, for this day, I have completed 3 sessions. Or I mean, yeah, 3 sessions. Okay, so our next episode could be part 4, session 15. Kindly subscribe, like, and share. So this will be about the progress update 001, performance and cost histogram in Primavera P6. Okay, see you for this episode, and thank you for watching. Thank you very much for watching if you are really watching. Okay, and end of our session. God bless to all and goodbye.